Hey, I'm Nick Manto, founder, CEO of the Solar Scouts. We're here at University of Texas, Dallas in the Biomedicine and Sciences building. We're having a brief conversation with one of my clients, Dr. Price. Dr. Price, can you introduce yourself briefly, just who you are, what you do?
Sure. I'm Dr. Ted Price. I'm a professor here at University of Texas at Dallas. I'm in the neuroscience department, and I'm the director of the Center for Advanced Pain Studies here at UTD. My lab in our center studies pain, tries to better understand what causes people to develop chronic pain and also migraine headaches. And we do a lot of drug discovery to try to develop non-opioid therapeutics to help people with pain.
What would you say to somebody that's feeling the pain of high electricity bills right now?
Go solar.
I had to throw a pun in there of some sort. When did you and I first meet?
It was 3 years ago, I guess, maybe 2.5 years ago, when we bought our new house. So my wife and I decided that we needed to have a bigger house because our kids were getting a little older. We moved within the neighborhood, and one of the first things that we decided to do was put solar on our house. So talked to a number of different companies, met you, ultimately decided that what you guys had to offer was right for us, and we started working with you then.
That's awesome. Yeah. And we actually helped on the other house because the house you were in before, you had solar on that as well.
That is true.
We didn't do that one, but what do you remember the situation there? Why that, like what was going on as you were selling
I
that one?
think I partially tried to block this out of my memory, actually, but we were trying to sell that house, and I think we had an issue. So we initially had Solar City, which became Tesla, and we couldn't get Tesla to do the service. And I don't remember exactly what the problem was, but it was a pretty urgent situation because we had something related to the roof that needed to be fixed because of the inspection. And part of the system, or maybe all of the system, had to come off. Yeah, it was all we had to replace the whole roof. Now it's coming back to me. I did try to block this out of my memory. So we had to replace the whole roof. And we had very limited time to do it. We couldn't get the Tesla people to come out and do what they had actually agreed to in the contract. And you guys did it for us in a very, very short period of time. And yes, we did sell the house, and we bought our new house. And yeah, bringing that back is affecting my sympathetic nervous system just a little bit.
There we go. I tricked the neuroscientist.
You did trick the neuroscience.
That should be a game show. Yeah, and great news, just right. We're I forget what the technical phrase is, but we're a certified installer for Tesla. So that means that we're able to be that more local boots on the ground help. And obviously huge company. You drive a Tesla as well. So
I do. We have two Teslas, and I love the car. We didn't choose to go with them for our new solar system.
definitely sometimes a little bit of a slower response time. And it right now, at least, it seems like they're shifting that model to more of a focus on local service partners
Yeah.
to help them address those types of things even faster.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we got introduced through one of our roofing connections and had an urgent need to detach the system so that way they could do the roof, and you can then we
What is urgent?
yeah.
Yes.
So thankfully, you were able to get the house sold, and
We did, and we love our new house.
and it is beautiful. And so
Thank
we
you.
got some footage of that as well from another detach reattach that we were doing recently for
Yeah.
a new roof after the May 2024 not snowstorms, but big weather,
Whatever that thing was, yeah. Microburst.
90-mile-an-hour winds or something
Yeah.
like that. But
Yep.
so yeah, the storm caused a little bit of leaking and roof damage, and thankfully, again, your insurance carrier took care of all that, and so that's a beautiful thing. When did you originally go solar with Solar City?
We went solar with Solar City when they were like kind of coming through the neighborhood. It wasn't long after we moved to Dallas from Tucson, Arizona. In Tucson, Tucson is probably the sunniest place in the United States. Maybe Phoenix is, but they're very close to each other. And we wanted to do solar there. We couldn't quite figure out how to do it, and then we decided we weren't going to stay in Tucson, so we ultimately didn't do it. But when we came to Dallas, it's we're both very. My wife and I are very environmentally oriented people, and we have 2 children who are young, and we care about the future of the planet. And renewable energy is important to us, and solar is the thing that we can do as individuals, in addition to driving electric cars, which we do. We already talked about that. So yeah, when the Solar City people came through the neighborhood, we were kind of looking around already, and they gave us an offer on the leasing approach that they took back then, which is a different approach than we took with y'all. And at the time, that was a perfect situation for us. So it was a great way for us to learn about solar, how much energy we would get out of the system. And our big kind of regret for what we did with Solar City is that we didn't put on a system that would generate all the power that we needed for certain parts of the day. So when we moved into the new house, we decided that we, number one, didn't want to get in the leasing situation again. Does not seem like a really great way to go for the future, and also given the tax incentives now. And we also wanted to get a bigger system because we wanted to be able to provide power for most of what we would need during the day, and even be able to sell back to be able to essentially break even on the system that we bought, which has turned out to be the case.
That's awesome. Cool. So which retail electric provider, the grid utility company, which one are you tied to right now?
I don't remember actually, but I mean, the reason I don't remember is because we don't get bills from them. So, or I at least don't pay attention to it, because we do break even, right? So the key thing I think for us was to find, which you helped us with, and it hasn't changed, which is why I don't pay attention to it. So the key thing was to find a electric provider that would allow us to sell back during the day at essentially the same rate that we would be buying electricity. And so I think you can still find those kind of providers. It's not the easiest thing to do, but you helped us with that. So the one we use, we still have the same deal. I think we signed like a 5-year contract with them. So we're set for at least 2 more years.
2.5 years remaining on that.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah.
Cool.
And then hopefully, similar ones will exist. I'm sure they will. And yeah, we do break even. So, I mean, the only thing I really pay attention to is the mortgage that we have on the solar system that we bought from you. And it's great because our electric bill is locked in, and all our neighbors are always complaining about how their electric bill goes up and up and up. And they ask about what we have, and like, well, our electric bill is our mortgage on our solar system, essentially, because we create so much energy during the summer that we have credits basically, and yeah, we sell back. I mean, on occasional months, we'll go over August usually, and months where we don't have very much sun, we'll go over. But months, especially the spring, we produce just a ton of energy, and we create a bunch of credits during that time. So, doing the larger system that covers most of our roof turned out to do exactly what we all hoped it did when we designed it with you. So
that's perfect. That's awesome. I love to hear that.
Yep.
You're doing my job for me, but there's a lot to unpack in a lot of that. The oversized system. So it sounds like as it overproduces in the spring and fall, do those credits last you in the August month where you're using so much? Like you're able to
not
use those
yeah,
credits? Or?
not totally, but fairly close.
Pretty darn close.
Yeah, pretty close. And given that most of my neighbors are spending $1,000 on electric and for a similar size house, so our house is 4,300 square feet. It's not gigantic, but it's not small, And
stories.
two stories.
Pool,
Yeah.
2 Teslas.
Yeah.
Lots of electricity being used.
We do create, we do, and you know, my children are on
Yeah.
all kinds of things all the time, and yeah, we do use a lot of electricity. So and we keep the house relatively cool. I'm one of those hot sleepers who really needs it to be cool to be able to sleep well, and it's great because you know when we were worried about the electric bill, we often would cut back, and I'd wake up sweaty in the middle of the night, which I hate, and now we don't worry about it very much. You know, the heat, I think eventually what we'll do is to switch over from gas heating to a heat pump.
Mm-hmm.
So go electric there. So that'll reduce our reliance on gas and having to pay a higher gas bill in the wintertime. You know, and our house is, it's an old house. It was built in the 1960s. So for Dallas, that's a relatively old house. And, you know, it's fairly well insulated and constructed, but it is not insulated like a house nowadays would be.
Right.
So, you know, it's pretty amazing that we have the electric bill independence that we have.
I love that. What is the solar electric bill? Just an approximate.
$380 a month.
$380. So you've got neighbors that are paying $1,000 a month.
Yes.
And yours is $380. You know, a huge aspect of that or piece of that is when you bought the house, but when you chose to go solar was like 2022.
Yeah.
Something to that effect. Maybe 21, probably 22. And in Dallas-Fort Worth and Texas, the energy rates from the grid have increased significantly in these 2 years.
Yes.
And so, you know, a lot of times folks have the blinders on, right? They're in one lane. They can only see what's right in front of them right here, right now. Well, right now, my electric bill is only $400, $500 a month. $380, saving $100 a month may not be as significant of a savings as someone might, you know, hope for or want. But fast forward 2 years, and lo and behold, now it's a $600 a month reduction in price.
Yeah. Yeah, totally agree. And we, when we were making the decision to do this, you know, we think it's unlikely that electricity prices are going to go down. That never happens. It's never happened in my lifetime. You know, I mean, there can be momentary small dips, right? But this seemed like a great way to lock in by just buying a system. Solar panel prices seem to be relatively steady now. So like we didn't feel like we were buying them when they were too high. The reason we leased when we did is because we did feel like we were buying them too high. Mm-hmm. But from the time that we leased those systems to the time to now, I mean, the purchase price has gone down pretty dramatically. And we feel the other thing is, you know, eventually we plan to be completely free of the grid by having a large battery system. I don't feel like we would be buying that at the right time right now because the prices are still very high. The technology is still developing, but in 2 or 3 years, I'm sure that the prices will be down. Technology will be far more mature. We won't have to cover one side of our house with batteries.
Right.
And we're already set up. And we got the solar system at a really good price with a 30% tax incentive, which was great. You know, when we bought it, it was 20%, and then it actually increased during that year because of a congressional bill that changed it back to, I think it had been 30 for a while, and then went to 20, and then went back up.
It was up there and steadily decreasing, and then in 2022 the Inflation Reduction Act happened, and so between the time when you signed up and when the system got installed, it was increased to 30% investment tax credit. So a little
that was a great deal
extra
for us.
kick.
It was very nice.
Awesome. And you know, you used a word that I probably wouldn't use, but I mean conceptually the same, right? A solar mortgage. That type of phrasing of it would potentially scare a lot of folks off, but I think the concept is true, where if you're just using electricity from the grid, you're really just renting that power. And sure, you get to be however comfortable you want to be based off of the budget. You've got a little bit of control there to keep the AC at 70 degrees or 80 degrees, like a lot of times they ask people to do in the summer months. Set your thermostat to 78 degrees so that way the whole grid doesn't shut down. So you really view this as a hedge against inflation. And for you, you were able to, for the same reason why people prefer to own their home and why the American dream is owning your house versus renting where you live, would you align solar with a similar American dream? Is that good? I like that. Cool.
And hopefully conserving the environment at the same time. How's that?
Exactly.
Makes us feel a little bit better about ourselves.
We can indulge in all the fun things that we want and guilt-free about it because it's a sugar-free ice cream. Yes, nice. So safe to say, if you moved again for whatever reason, doesn't sound like you would, but you'd go solar again on that house as well?
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things that we had a little bit of trouble with was buyers understanding everything with the lease system. I think owning it and having it paid off to X amount is a lot easier thing for a new owner to understand. And with the longer history that we've had with this one, I think they would see the electric benefit. So, and yeah, we would definitely put it on a new house. I mean, but yeah, I also doubt that we would move. But
You're
pretty happy where we are. Yeah.
So that's really a good point. In 2022, when you were selling the old home with the leased Solar City system, was that a detriment to you?
It was a detriment. A lot of people walked away from the house.
Okay.
So the house was priced pretty competitively in a very desirable neighborhood, and a fair number of people walked away because they didn't like the idea of having to deal with the lease.
Sure.
And the people that ultimately bought the house were maybe predictably from California, and that they were a little bit more used to that idea, and so they were okay with it. But yeah, we had a lot of people walk away. It was a little tense, actually.
So the Californians that purchased the home, did you have to make any concessions to them, or? Okay.
Yeah, people used it against us bargaining. Yeah.
Understood. Okay. But you feel that doesn't sound like you're gonna, but if you were to sell this home, the ownership model would be less of a detriment?
If we were going to sell this home, the decision would be super easy. We would pay off the solar system so that it would be part of the house, and I think that would transition it from being a little bit of something that might make people think about it to something that will add value way beyond what we paid to pay it off. So that to me would be a super easy decision. We just pay off what's left. We've been paying it down because we're saving money on our electric bill. We've been paying it down ahead of schedule. Oh, wow. We got a great deal on the tax rebate, which also, the way that the deal was initially structured was for the anticipated 20%, or maybe it was 25%. I don't remember. 26. Okay, yeah. But so we got a little extra money back from that we also put towards it. And it has a very low interest rate. So the interest rate on this is not like I can understand why the mortgage idea would be different for people to think about, because the interest rate on that size of a loan is going to be way higher than it is for this. So the interest rate for this is pretty close to zero.
0.99%?
Yes.
Those unfortunately don't exist right now in the rate environment that we're in, but right now, the low ones that we've got access to are like 3.99%. They're
Still less than a mortgage.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. More like a car.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's a good point. You think the solar, or at least how we installed it, is on a railing system, and that creates a little bit of an air gap between the modules on the roof and the roof itself.
Yes.
Home without solar, the sun is just beating up the shingles all day, every day. And so you notice that the attic spaces stay cooler because we're effectively shading the roof with the solar panels.
The whole house stays a little bit cooler, actually. So we actually noticed this when you redid the roof. So it was a hot period, as you may recall. Yes. It was August, I think, right? So like the hottest.
It was,
or was it September? No, I think it was August, right?
somewhere in that time.
Yeah. It was a hot period in Dallas, no question. And in the little bit of time between when the system came off and you guys redid the roof, my wife and I definitely noticed that the upstairs was way hotter than it used to be. And the answer is super simple. You know, we have a very large system that covers most of the roof, and the radiant heat is just totally different when the system is on versus when it's not. So when it went back on, we were using less energy again. And that's one of the things that we never really considered about having the kind of house that we do. You know, in Arizona, it's funny because people always have the flat roofs with all of the stuff on them that stops the radiant heat from really getting into your house so much. But in Texas, people do not have those kind of roofs. Right. So the radiant heat, especially if you have an upstairs that doesn't have much attic space, it really has a huge impact. And the solar system really blocks most of it. It's pretty amazing.
That is awesome. So I talk about the hidden benefits of solar. So that'd be one of them. And that's going to vary a lot house to house, and right, this home that's very energy efficient to begin with, where maybe you don't need as much roof coverage of the system because they're not producing all that much. You know, there's going to be less of a benefit add for a house like that. Whereas here we're covering basically the whole darn thing.
Definitely, yeah.
Other hidden benefits. So you and I have worked together 3 times now, right? We detached and reattached the system on the old home. You vetted us and a few other companies when choosing to go solar on the new home. And then here again, after this most recent storm, we did the detach, reattach, helped you with the roof as well, and all that. So on this most recent roof replacement that insurance covered the cost of, did having solar impact your insurance, whether it be the premium, the deductible, anything like that?
Our premium didn't change very much because we just went through the renewal right after, which I was pretty nervous about, and that surprised me.
After this most recent claim, gotcha. Okay, so right now in 2024.
Yeah, and then the solar does decrease our insurance rate somewhat because it protects the house from hail and things like that. And when we replaced our roof, the reason that we had to replace the roof was because of the wind damage to a section of the roof that led to a large, we had basically a living room totally, well, not totally, but I mean, there was a lot of water.
Yeah.
More water than anybody wants to see in their house.
Yes.
So, and it was a fairly old roof, so it was probably time to replace the whole thing anyway. And it had not had a solar system sitting on top of it for very long. I mean, that roof, I think, was 8 years old when we bought the house. So we had, a year and a half, 2 years with the solar system on. Well, yeah, at least 2 years with the solar system on.
Awesome. And that's what we find a lot of times too. I like to say, right, if somebody is sticking with their incumbent insurance carrier, sure, maybe they'll increase the premium by $20 or something like that. But in many instances, right, your premium is going to stay the same, which is the amount you pay to insure the home on a monthly basis. Sometimes you even see a decrease because of the added protection or exoskeleton of the solar over and above the shingles. And then in your instance, the home value, the appraised home value did not change. And so that's something that could be good, could be bad, kind of depends on the scenario. For an insurance claim scenario, it's a good thing, where the appraisers in Texas right now really are not adding any value to a home that has solar. For that reason, the insurance carriers, if the home price is the same with or without solar, and if your deductible is a percentage of the whole home value, well, your deductible is the exact same, and insurance is covering the cost to remove and reinstall the system as well. So you're no worse for wear adding solar for that reason.
I agree, yeah. And property tax valuations too, it hasn't had an impact on that. But feel pretty strongly that if we were actually to sell the house and did what we would plan to do, which pay off the system, I'm quite sure it would add a lot of value to the house.
I agree. Yeah. And yeah, thank you. The in Texas, renewable energy technology is property tax exempt, so it's not increasing.
Actually,
yeah. So not even if the appraisers, right, in other states, homes with solar appraise higher. When Texas catches up to that, it's going to be a property tax exempt added value to the home, and so they'll have to delineate that somehow or another. Of here's home, here's, I don't know what all is line item on there now, right? If pool adds XYZ, but having solar would be a separate line item to say, okay, well, it's a X value system. It's not increasing the tax assessed value of the home. And then going back to the temperature control of the attic spaces, right? If your home is keeping the attic spaces cooler and thereby keeping the rest of the home cooler, right? It means that your HVAC systems have to work less than they were before. And so that very well could be another way trickled down the road, adding longevity to the other systems in your home, requiring less maintenance, less replacement, and just, again, hidden savings within doing something like this. Well, we've worked together 3 times before. If something came up that required us to, or required you to find a solution centric to your home again, would you give me a call and use the Solar Scouts again?
Yes, I definitely would.
Yep, as I did when our roof was messed up just a couple months ago. You were the first person we called, actually. Well, I think we might have called our insurance, and we were confused by them, so we called you. And you actually helped us with the insurance part too, so that's another thing. I didn't know how to complete those forms. You did that for us, so thank you for doing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so definitely we would, yeah.
Well,
I've recommended you to other folks too. I think hopefully more people will come around to doing this on their house.
Yeah, thank you. I know for sure it may not have been you directly, but maybe Rubria's dad or something recommended us to AC Gonzalez.
Oh no, that was me actually.
That was you.
Yeah.
Cool.
So you did AC's house?
We did AC's
Yeah, cool,
house.
yeah.
That was, I think, after we completed your
Yeah.
install,
Yeah.
and then another similar long permitting horizon situation, and he'd be another good person to interview.
Well, he was the city manager of Dallas for a while, yeah. So he would be a really good person to talk to about that. I would imagine he would know who to call.
Yes.
Yeah.
He knows how to make some phone calls. I think he was working on, they just announced, well, not just announced, but it seems like they're just took another step towards one of these big park projects in Dallas along the Trinity.
Okay.
And a couple years ago, he and I were chatting about that and what all goes into the planning of it. And yeah, 2 years later, and again, just another like stage update. I'm not sure even if they're breaking ground on it yet or anything like that, but it was just really interesting stuff. Dr. Price, thank you so much for your time today. We're just wrapping up at the University of Texas, Dallas. where we just discussed how we've helped Dr. Price and his family on 3 different occasions with his solar system, his roof, just energy efficiency in general, and the importance of leaving the planet a little better than we found it and being able to indulge and keep your home comfortable, guilt-free. And so if you've been feeling the pain of increased electricity bills, you don't have to feel that pain. So click the link below, and I'd love to help you alleviate that pain.